Welcome back to Poetry Lockdown, day 85. I've been spending a good amount of time thinking and reading poetry in received forms. And one of the things I've said is that I feel like when the present moment is kind of overwhelming to you as a poet, and you want to in some way be adequate to it in language, sometimes a received form, like a sonnet or today a villanelle, can actually really help you concentrate and also surprise yourself with language. I've been reading a lot lately this book, The Exaltation of Form. There you go. Contemporary poets celebrate the diversity of their art. It's a book I actually read when I was a grad student with Deborah Keenan, who I've talked about before, a terrific mentor. But this is a really cool book because the poets they will talk about the form, and then they'll give other poets examples of it. In this particular one, the villanelle, which is 19 lines in which particular lines will get repeated again and again throughout the poem. The poet who wrote the essay on the form, Maxine Kumin, I think that's how you say her last name, also gave an example of her own villanelle, and actually it's a double villanelle, which I'm going to read. So it's a really cool book. If you're a poet or a lover of poetry, really recommend it. So Maxine Kumin, looking at her own past and figures in her past, the nuns who taught her in grade school. And she looks at it through two vantage points. So I'm going to read the poem and then just talk a little bit about why I admire this poem so much. Maxine Kumin, The Nuns of Childhood, Two Views. 1. Oh, where are they now, your harridan nuns, who thumped on young heads with a metal thimble and punished with rulers your upturned palms? 3 smacks for failing in long division, one more to instill the meaning of humble. As the twig is bent, said your harridan nuns. Once a visiting bishop, serene at the close of a mass through which he had shambled, smiled upon you with upturned palms. Because this is my feast day, he ended, you may all have a free afternoon. In a scramble of whistles and cheers, one harridan nun, fiercest of all the parochial coven, Sister Pascala, without preamble raged, I protest! And rapping on palms at random had bodily to be restrained. Oh, God's perfect servant is kneeling on brambles wherever they sent her, your harridan nun, enthroned as a symbol with upturned palms. 2. Oh, where are they now, my darling nuns, whose heads were shaved under snowy wimples, who rustled dryly inside their gowns, disciples of oxidol, starch, and bluing, their backyard clothesline a pious example. They have flapped out of my sight, my darling nuns. Seamless as fish, made all of one skin, their language secret, these gentle vestals were wedded to Christ inside their gowns. O Mother Superior Rosarine, on whose lap the privileged visitor lolled, I at age 4 with my darling nuns, with Sister Elizabeth, Sister Anne, am offered to Jesus, the Jewish child next door, who worships your ample black gown, your eyebrows, those thick mustachioed twins, your rimless glasses, your ring of pale gold. Who can have stolen my darling nuns? Who rustles dryly inside my gown? Lovely poem, huh? So one of the things that I've learned as a reader and a writer of poetry over the years is really how important it is to pay attention to pronouns. And for me, I think I knew that I loved this poem or this set of poems, from the first time I read it, and I was trying to understand, well, why is it so good? Why do I love it so much? And I realized part of the reason I love it is the poet's really sensitive and intentional use of pronouns. In the first the first part, one, when she says your harridan nuns, she's really talking to herself, of course, like Maxine Kumin, I imagine, as a youngster, who is seeing those nuns and talking to herself. And harridan is just another word, I think, for like really strict, which makes sense for the time period. And so she's so close to that moment, she doesn't see much else besides that really fun and dramatic, and probably traumatic at the time, with Sister Pascala responding to the bishop and all that kind of stuff. But then I noticed something. I noticed a shift in pronouns with that second poem, or the second part of the set. And now she is really moved on in time, and she notices the nuns as more full, complete women. And now it's not harridan, it's darling, because she's noticing that they're leaving. I mean, they're not working in the schools, not even close to the same frequency as there was. Most of them are gone, and this becomes a lament, but also a lament that's seen from her adult self. And I really love the kind of the movement there from your to my, and she's really speaking for herself as an adult poet. So I find this whole poem lovely and a great example of a portrait poem, and also just a masterful use of the villanelle form. So thank you, Maxine Kumin. I'm not going to read it again because I've been talking a whole bunch here. But thank you all for listening, and thank you, Maxine Kumin, for this beautiful poem.